Welcome to the Real CP Show. I am your host, CP. Today is May the 24th, 2026. And today's topic, the unfathomable actions by this Native American violent woman. The way she unalived her little innocent child. Then the minimizing of the disgusting actions that she showed. For so long within society, is when you say Native Americans, it's just this spiritual perception, right? This of the land perception. And there are those variables of small numbers that relay that over. But again, at the same time, that is still a collective perception. And which Native Americans? Do you understand? But that's a whole tactic in itself. And then you start throwing in the much reparations of these various Native tribes that many people have no clue about, haven't even heard about, that get reparations. And for people who don't know, some of the highest alcoholic rates is by certain sectionality or certain Native Americanism. And you like, huh? And getting numbers reparations and get many programs and resources. But you start talking about reparations specifically Black Americans for centuries of black pain. Well, I ain't got no, well, I don't have anything to do with slavery. Do you see this little disturbing Takanakanist tale of nonsense that's portrayed every day toward Black Americans and excuses that's given? But at the same time, good little Negroes just still supposed to vote for primarily a political party, all right? That, however, sectionality some people say take for granted collective Black American votes, while getting while helping out however sanctuary cities, giving resources to border break illegal immigrants. You get the point. That's a whole different topic. So relating to this situation, let me share my screen. This is very disturbing. Because I see how, oh, that's wrong. You know what? That's okay. Let me just play this one first. Let me put this in context, okay? You know, I'm not going to do that. No. I'm not going to do that. Let me share let me reshare this and play the video. All right. One moment here. Okay, make sure you can see this. All right. Let me get this off the screen. Let me get this off there. Let me get that off there. Remove that part. There we go. Now, I want you to just notice something first in the wording. New details revealed in this mother's, very generically, confession of an unalivement of the toddler in a Flagstaff, Arizona hotel. Nothing about nothing else, right? Just saying mother in a general sense. Sometimes I got it. Sometimes it's a little devious. And this situation is a deviousness, right? In this initial part. Because see, this is why I've had relayed over many podcasts on numbers of women criminalities and things like that. That's obviously minimized, right? Because remember, just believe women. While numbers of women within certain parts of Panama's culture and however, anyway, they can't even stand other types of women. And there is no women, there's no pan women code among each other. There is a selective, right, temporary allyship, especially against males, right? And put themselves in positions and things like this and women's empowerment. But there is a caste system in womanism. Don't get it confused. So the thing about it is, in this situation, there is a minimizing of her being Native American. Watch this. But let me just set this. Anyway. So this is for timepiece purpose, because I like to sit there and relate as timepiece because it keeps the time what was going on at that particular time. I'm utilizing this under fair uses doctrine.
Court audio is revealing more about the disturbing case. Month-old child.
Sorry.
And story
Hold
in a
on.
hotel
Let me
freezer.
hold
32-year-old
on.
Okra
Hold on.
Manakaja is facing.
Man, 1 second here. All right. Dang it. Sorry. What's wrong with this? Sure here.
Tonight, new court audio is revealing more about the disturbing case against a Flagstaff mother accused of killing her 17-month-old child and storing his body in a hotel freezer. 32-year-old Okra Manakaja is facing 21 felony counts in connection with the child's abuse and death. Fox 10's Jacob Luthi joining us now with the newly released details in court. Jacob.
Yeah, Mark, court documents say the child died on May 1st, and Okra Manakaja hid the toddler's body inside a freezer for weeks to hide the smell. Prosecutors calling the offenses the most horrific imaginable.
Ms. Manakaja, do you want a lawyer to help you with your case? Yes.
That was 32-year-old Okra Manakaja appearing before a judge for the first time on May 18th, accused of killing her 17-month-old child and storing the toddler's body in a hotel. On Friday, a grand jury returned a 21-count indictment charging Manakaja with murder, child abuse, and concealing a dead body.
The nature and circumstances of this offense are among the most horrific imaginable.
Court documents show Flagstaff police responded to a La Quinta hotel on May 17th after Manakaja called 911 and said her 17-month-old child was dead. When dispatchers asked what happened, investigators say she responded, quote, "I killed him." Officers then entered the hotel room and found the toddler's body inside a tote.
The defendant took those two children to La Quinta Inn with their dead brother frozen, wrapped in material including duct tape, and took them there to go swimming. It's unknown if they knew.
Two other children, ages 7 and 9, were also inside the hotel room when officers arrived, but police say they were not injured. Prosecutors say Manakaja also admitted to the crime in a note to her sister, writing, quote, "I killed Zion, I abused him." Then hours after the crime, she posted about it on social media.
She was writing to a Facebook user saying things such as, quote, "I'm done, sorry, I confessed, I'm going to prison, bye, not lying, I killed my baby, I abused him, he's dead."
Family posting this photo of Zion Pudasoy on Facebook, calling it a heartbreaking loss that could have been prevented.
There's zero doubt about defendant's guilt or the heinousness of her acts.
But at the same time, you'll have some people that do just like this. Again, because of the perceptionality, when you say Native American, as if that's supposed to be some non-humanness and some spiritual super enlightenment, right? As if they're sitting there riding on this spiritual buffalo, right? Riding on top of some fish in some big old lake or some ponds or wherever it is. And let's not even get it. And here's the crazy part about it. Do you not know how many, well, anyway, most people don't. There are so many Native American tribes that most people have no clue, again, haven't even heard of, can't even pronounce them. And many of them are getting reparations. It's a whole different topic. There are ones within the Grand Canyon that have however gigantic amount of acres in the Grand Canyon, but they weren't removed from a reservation of the Grand Canyon. You know how big the Grand Canyon is? And it's like, you really think we say Native Americans, it ain't enough Native Americans to sit there and occupy that gigantic Grand Canyon. Do you understand how many places in the Grand Canyon that is never being seen still now? But somebody gonna tell you, oh yeah, there's the however numbers of Native Americans, extremely small numbers, whatever that might be. Oh, but they occupy however with this however councilness of tribal council, whatever those situations, and they sit there and control however part in tourism of the Grand Canyon, but they never were removed from a reservation. And how many other tribes in various other places in this country were never removed from their reservations to go to some Oklahoma territory? But how many of them get reparations? Do you understand this little tactic? But you start talking about getting Black Americans, well, we ain't got anything to do with slavery, right? I'm like, yo, boy. And that game consistently keeps succeeding upon a certain number within American Blackism. But the other thing I want to sit there and show you is real fast. This is the last one because this is kind of topic. You might have a lot of views, a lot of gigantic interest, and that's the way certain numbers of people, the supremacist system, love it on that. But this is the last thing I want to show on this. When it talks about, give me one moment here, and you see already the first thing I showed you, it didn't say anything really about Native American, right? You see how that goes. So some people will just see that and say, oh, yeah, that's just terrible, right? But even the name itself, sometimes the name itself is a giveaway. And, independent variables to that. But let me read this overall kind of quickly a little bit. It's a whole different other article, but I just kind of want to show this particular part of it. DCS confirmed. Oh, make sure you can see this. DCS confirms prior contact with family. That's the Department of Child Safety. Confirmed to Arizona's family that they have received one previous report involving Monica and her family in December 2024. The department said it got a court order to remove the child from the unsafe conditions. Let me repeat this. The department said it got a court order to remove the child from this Native American mom, right? From its unsafe conditions. However, DCS said Monacaja's tribe. What did it say? However, DCS said Monacaja's tribe claimed jurisdiction and assumed custody of the child. The department says that can happen when a Native American child is involved. In those cases, both the state and the child's tribe may have authority, and the tribe can request to take over at any time. When that happened, DCS said the state caseworkers are no longer involved. The department extends the deepest sympathy to all those affected by the tragic unalivement of a 1-year-old child. Our thoughts, anyway, that part. So this is the part I want to get to. Criminal history, right? Court documents show Monacaja has a criminal history spanning several years, including disorderly conduct, assault allegations, and criminal damage cases. Let me put this again. Court documents show this, right? This spiritual superness, right? Walks among the fish, walks among the buffaloes, right? Huh? Because that's perception. Monacaja has a criminal history spanning several years, including disorderly conduct, assault allegations, and criminal damage cases. She has convictions in 2003 for aggravated assault. She has convictions in 2023 of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and DUI. But this part, and closely, the minimizing a forensic psychologist, right? I mean that formal education, no easiness on that part. Such as person said several factors stand out in the case. Just looking at her history, there seems to be an indication of either some underlying severe pathology, meaning like bipolar disorder or something like that. They relayed. Such person, go for a little bit. Such person says substance abuse, untreated mental illness can intensify emotional instability, especially when someone is isolated, struggling financially. They are part of Native tribe. How to get reparations? Foolishness. Now it's up to them to not take advantage of that. It already suggests there is something really going on with her that she's really struggling with, and maybe doesn't have any help or family or friends or anything like that. Any outside source that she can kind of lean on. It seems like she kind of maybe does things by herself. A choice. When you are part, her name, because sometimes it's but her name is easily attached to a Native American tribe. What did I show earlier where it talked about how, I think I showed it earlier, when it said that that tribe took over jurisdiction. Do you understand? So that, well, she had no family members. She had, no, that is out the freaking window. Now, because she chose to not stay within the tribal confines of the reservation or wherever it is, that is her choice on that. No problem. You want to stay on there, fine. You get however reparations, do your stuff. She decided to stay in at that particular hotel. Their choices. Now, she had multiple kids. So the question will be like, where's the dad? Oh, you can't blame a Black American man on this one. She had 3 kids. And the way she sit there and unalive the first child was disturbing. And I was like, huh? Right? Disturbing. But again, numbers of people will do just like this. They really don't see nothing on that, right? And then you see the minimizing again, what however personnel try to relay over. Well, you know, some mental diseases. That's getting out of hand now, right? That's becoming a cool word to say across the board of minimizing quite a number of people within certain parts of Panama's culture when they do criminality, some other types of groups, some border break legal. I mean, you get the point, but that don't apply to Black Americans, right? When some do certain things, unless they can apply in a beneficiality to still make them like they're still guilty regardless. Do you see the structural brilliance of this anti-Black Americans very sex society? And again, just believe womenism. Do you understand? Oh, that Black man did this. Oh, there is no 9,000%. Well, he got mental illness. Well, you know, we can't really just look at it that difficult. No, we can't do that. They be like, we don't hear what you got to say on that. That is a Negro. Regardless of you say mental illness, we don't care about that. He's still guilty. But someone like her, well, I mean, she comes from a difficult background. She comes from a reparationalness of however tribe. That is her freaking choice. And then the thing about, again, where's the dad? Notice no one said anything about where's the dad? Can't blame it on Black Americans, on the Black American male on this. See how that goes. I thank you for tuning in to the Real CP show.